Okay, awesome. Well, I'll get us started here. Thank you so much for joining us today, wherever you're coming from. We're super happy to have you and get to talk to you all a little bit more about the undeclared student experience here at Chapman. So we'll get to share a little bit more about what it looks like from the admissions side, from the academic advising side, as well as hear a little bit more about the student experience. So I'll start by just introducing myself. My name's Cameron. I am one of the undergraduate admission counselors here at Chapman. So I get the privilege to read your college applications and help you navigate this admissions process. And I'm super happy to join you today. So I'll pass it off to Miriam.
Hi, my name is Mary Martinez, and I'm the academic advisor for the undeclared population, as well as the Atala College of Educational Studies students. And I'm here to assist you with any of your academic needs as far as choosing what courses and making sure that you stay on track to graduate.
I'll just introduce myself too. My name is Isabella. I am a junior here at Chapman University, majoring in communication studies with a double minor in dance and leadership studies. But I did go in undecided, so I'll speak a little bit more on my experience and my involvements and stuff towards the end.
Hey,
Awesome.
so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can go through a quick presentation. Okay, and can everybody see this okay? Yes, okay, awesome. And then, what is it? Here we go.
Perfect.
All right,
All
perfect.
right.
So here we go. So I think Cameron already covered what we're going to be talking about, where it's the admission process, academic advising, and then we'll end with some questions and answers at the end.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I'll hop us into a little bit about the admission side here for undeclared students. Also wanted to share, we do have a chat box. So if any questions come up that you're curious about, feel free to send them in the chat. We'll have a opportunity for questions and answers after our presentation. So hang on to those questions. Feel free to pop them in there. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can, but know that we have that available to you. A little bit just about us from the admissions end here. Undeclared is actually going to be our third largest program selection on campus. So know we have a huge population of students who come into Chapman who are exploring what they want to do, figuring that out. And so know that it is totally okay if you are a student who's unsure exactly what you want to study. Chapman is really excited about students who are interested in exploring different areas. Maybe you're not fully ready to commit to a program, or maybe you just want to take a little bit of time to really figure out what a major and academic area of study is going to be of best interest for you. So know we have lots of support and a lot of great student populations here that can really support you in that journey. So 8.3% of our applicants actually do come in undeclared. Something I'll talk about in the next slide, but just wanted to kind of start highlighting here as well, is that for undeclared students, you might hear like there's a stigma around the fact that there's a negative impact to applying undeclared. I want you to know here at Chapman, again, we really invite those students to apply in that fashion. So know that there is no negative impact applying as an undeclared student. So you really get the freedom to do that with full confidence, knowing that we review an undeclared student very similarly to how we would review a psychology student or a business student. So we really want you to feel confident in submitting undeclared. Just a little bit of a snapshot into what our applicant pool looks like. This is our last year's class overview. We had around 17,000 first year applications coming in, and we typically have a class around 1,800. So around 1,860 was our incoming class for the year with 325 transfer students. And then our average GPA is sitting around a 3.78. And we have students that come from all over the states and the world. So we have around 48 different states represented, 81 different countries. So here at Chapman, you'll get to touch base with people from all over, hopefully get to meet people from all kinds of different states and different parts of the world to really expand your global perspective. And know here at Chapman as well, we are test optional. So around 76% of students applied test optionally this past fall. In other words, 76% of students did not submit their test scores. So no, here at Chapman, we truly are test optional. You can feel the freedom to submit your scores if you feel like it enhances your application. But if you're unsure if you want to submit it or you're deciding not to, know that it won't be harmful to your application. So you can really feel the freedom to either submit or not submit your scores. Moving into just a little bit more about how we actually review at Chapman, we are really grateful for the fact that we have a holistic review process here at Chapman. So when you submit your application, we are looking at a variety of different factors to determine if you're a good fit for our school. And so we don't look at only your GPA or only your extracurriculars. We really want to learn everything there is to know about you to determine how you would contribute to our campus community. So again, the first thing we're going to look at is that area of study. As an undeclared student, you would feel free to put undeclared there, and know that there's a space on our application where you specifically get to give us a little bit more context as to what exactly you're interested in. That's why we offer pathways for students. We give them spaces to really explore that. You'll also have a chance to pursue your general education studies, which also give you a chance to try out different things and not be stuck to just your major. So feel free to give us as much context there as you would like. A lot of students will share what they're thinking about studying, what they know they're passionate about, and that's a great area to inform the admission team a little bit more about why you've decided to apply undeclared. We also take a look at community impact. That's going to be anything outside of the classroom. So whether you've participated in a club, maybe you've done a sport, maybe you've been involved in community service opportunities, whatever the case may be, that's also a really great space to share with the team a bit more of what you're passionate about, what you've decided to dedicate your time to. So especially as an undeclared student, this is a really great place to show us a little bit more about who you are. And so no, we'll take a look at your community impact as well. We also look at academics in context, just to give you a little more better idea of what exactly that means. When you apply to Chapman, you do have to submit a school report form. Essentially, that informs us a little bit more about what academic environment you're coming from. So it tells us a bit about your high school, what kind of classes you had offered. So it's really helpful to understand once we're reviewing your transcript so we can get a better idea of what kind of classes you took, what you took advantage of, different things like that. And then lastly, and one of the most important part of our applications is what's called Chapman Fit. And what that really means is that it's not about where the admission team sees you fitting in, but it's more about where you see yourself fitting in on campus. And so on our application, there's going to be a question that asks you a little bit more about why you're interested in Chapman. That's going to be a really great space to be specific. Maybe you really like that Chapman encourages exploration of majors, all those different kinds of things. We're very interdisciplinary. So if you have so many interests, this could be a really great fit for you. Versus maybe if you're someone who's looking for a bigger university, a large, huge student body, maybe Chapman isn't the greatest fit for you. So really take that space there to be specific, be detailed, and let us know why you're excited about attending our university. Wonderful. Okay, I think here we're going to pass it off to Miriam to talk a little bit more about the academic advising portion of Undeclared.
Yes, thank you, Cameron. Okay, so what does it mean to be an undeclared person at Chapman? So it basically means that you have the freedom to explore all the different opportunities and courses that you find interesting. Meanwhile, you hone in and decide on what you want to major in. So, as the undeclared advisor, I really encourage my students to kind of pick and choose the subjects and areas that are interest to them or that they find interesting. And then we find classes that will match those interests, and that way they can explore them and try them out. And if they're part of a major, then we kind of know if you're going to have a good fit with that major. And if you don't end up liking the class, then you kind of steer away from that major. A lot of these classes will also satisfy your GE requirements, and so you don't have to worry about being or falling behind in your studies, because you'll still be progressing with your GE courses. And eventually, if you're taking the right courses that lead you into a specific major, those classes are going to count towards that major anyway. So it's an exciting time to just experience different things in different areas. Meanwhile, you're figuring things out for you. Okay. Now, a lot of times, like Cameron mentioned earlier, there's a stigmatism behind being undeclared. But more than approximately 20% of new college students come into a college as undeclared. And at least 80% of the students that come in with a declared major actually change their major at least once, sometimes more than once. So it's a time in your life where you want to be experiencing different things. And as we're growing in life, our interests tend to change. And so I do see a lot of students that come in as a specific major, and then they decide this is not what I want to do the rest of my life, and then they decide to change a major. And sometimes it happens more than one time. So I'll have students that will change their major at least twice, if anything. And so it's really, we really encourage you to explore here at Chapman. And so if you're coming in as undeclared, you kind of have an advantage point from all the other students that are coming in as a declared major, because you're not restricted to taking those major courses, but you're able to explore a little bit more than they would be able to. And then here at Chapman, we do average about 200 to 250 undeclared first year students every year. And we also offer different specific requirements for them, but also some specific like courses and then activities and workshops that we offer them. Okay, so there's different types of students that come in, those who are decided and they know exactly what they want to major in. You have the ones that are completely undecided, that don't know what they want to do, and they have so many different interests. And then you have the students that are kind of decided, but they're not really sure if that's what they want to do. And so wherever you kind of land, we're here to support you and help you find your way. And so whether you're coming in as a major, you're going to have a specific advisor for that major. If you come in and then you're kind of unsure that this is where you want to stay, you can speak to any of the other advisors in the different colleges and find out what's going on with them. You can also attend different activities and events that the different colleges will offer to kind of see if that's where maybe you fit in. So there's so many different avenues and opportunities here at Chapman for you to make sure that you end up in the right major for you. All right, so how to choose your major. So students do need to declare a major by the time that they reach 60 credits. So that's basically the end of your sophomore year. So you have plenty of time to explore different avenues. What we like to do is keep in touch. So I usually advise my students to meet with me at least once every semester to kind of go over the classes that they've taken to see how they like them. To kind of discuss what other classes you might want to explore for the next semester, and then look at your interests and your strengths to kind of match courses to that. And then we want to discover majors and careers. So, and then of course, as you're growing and you're reflecting and maturing and trying all these different courses, you're going to eventually decide on a particular major for you. But we do encourage different offices that have different events that they put on, like the Career and Professional Development Center will host at least 2 career fairs so that you can match up with different careers. They're there to help you find what your strengths are and do assessments that will help you find what your strengths and interests are to kind of guide you and see what careers are available to you and what majors will lead you there. So there's so many different things that we do to assist you here. Okay, so we do offer over 60 majors at Chapman, and they're all divided into 9 different colleges. So we have the Wilkinson College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, the Atala College of Educational Studies, Crane College of Health and Behavioral Sciences, the Ardros College of Business and Economics, the Fowler School of Engineering, the College of Performing Arts, the School of Communication, the Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, and of course, Schmid College of Science and Technology. A lot of these have a multitude of different majors attached to them. Our STEM colleges are going to include Fowler, Schmid, and Crane. And then, of course, our performing arts and film and media are part of the arts pathways. And then we have so many different opportunities with all of them. Okay, so the major options here at Chapman, they usually range from 30 to 80 credits. Some of the majors will be on the lower side. So the smallest major is going to be 30 credits, while the largest major is going to be 80 credits. Most of those higher majors are going to be the STEM majors. We do offer different courses that you can share between your major and your GE. So you can take up to 9 credits of your major courses that can double count with your general education courses. So that's about 3 classes. And then, of course, some of the colleges are going to have additional requirements to declare them as a major. So, for example, Dodge, any major in the Dodge College is going to require a separate application and a GPA. For graphic design, there's a separate application and a portfolio along with your GPA that you have to meet. The School of Communication has a separate application and a GPA requirement. The College of Performing Arts, you have to audition for their majors. And then, of course, the College of Business has some course prerequisites that you have to take prior to declaring that as your major and meet a GPA requirement. And for the educational studies, you just have to take the core introductory courses to apply. So there's different avenues for you to decide on your majors. And then once you decide, you can always come and talk to me about what the next steps are as far as if there is a supplemental application for it, or if you're meeting the GPA requirements and what you have to do for those to meet those requirements and apply to those majors. All right, so if you're coming in as an undeclared student, we usually have or offer different pathways for you. So there's going to be a pathway in like health and humanities, a pathway for business, a pathway for the arts, a pathway for STEM. So depending on what your interests are, we're usually given a list of different courses that we can enroll the students in as being undeclared students. And so some of the courses that are available are like for accounting or business are going to be econ and math. And then for the arts pathway, there's going to be a couple of art courses that you can take or art history courses. For STEM majors, it's usually going to be bio and chemistry and some math. And then for like communications, there's several courses that you can take that will satisfy some of your GEs, but will also go towards the major. and then some computer science courses, some creative producing courses. So every department has at least a couple of courses that students can enroll in without being in the major to kind of test the waters and explore the courses and see if they're a fit for them. All right, so the way it works here is once you're accepted into Chapman University, you'll be sent several emails. One of them is going to be to choose an exploratory pathway where you're going to see all the different options that we offer. You can choose to elect one of those pathways if that's your area of interest, or you can choose to create a custom pathway where you'll meet with me one-on-one and we'll discuss what your interests are and we'll find classes that fit those interests for you. So you're not necessarily locked into those specific pathways, so we can always deviate from them and you can choose different pathways at any time, so you're not stuck in one. We do allow for pre-registration into select courses. So based on the courses that you choose or the pathway that you choose will depend what courses we pre-enroll you in prior to your attending your first semester here. And this is to guarantee that you get into some classes that are of interest to you. And then, of course, as an undeclared student, you do get to move in early than the rest of the population. So you get a couple of extra days to move in. And then we'll have some additional workshops for you. And again, like I said, you do have the opportunity to create your own custom pathway instead of choosing one that's already pre-done for you. Okay, so here are the different pathways. So we have the arts and entertainment, business, industry, and public relations, education, nonprofit, government, and humanities, the STEM on the computer science and engineering side, or the STEM, biology, chemistry, and health science side. And then, of course, there's that custom pathway where, again, we will discuss what your interests are and create your own courses from there. Not create your own courses, but deviate from these pathways and the specific courses that are attached to these pathways. So what do you typically take in your first year? Most of undeclared students are going to be working towards their general education courses. Of course, you don't have to take every single general education course. You can also choose to take different courses that are not going to apply to your GEs as you are exploring. And so we do encourage that. And then, of course, for first year students, you're going to have an online orientation where we'll discuss all the different general education courses that you have to meet. And then we'll talk about like what courses are available to you. And then through the academic advising office, we do offer advice for registration. We offer one-on-one meetings to discuss your career paths, to discuss like your four-year plan, or to discuss different options. And we do try to personalize your academic support for all the students here. All right, so the general education courses are broken up into three sections. The first one being the first year foundations, where you'll take an FFC 100 course. This is required of all of our first year students. And then the second section is the liberal arts and science focus, where you'll meet your written inquiry, artistic inquiry, a natural science inquiry, a quantitative, a values and ethical inquiry, and a social inquiry. And there's so many different courses that will satisfy these requirements. Sometimes you can share these between your majors if you know what your major is going to be. And then the third section of our general education is the global focus, where you do have to complete 6 credits of a global studies inquiry, a citizenship community service inquiry, and your foreign language requirement. For the foreign language, we do, in order to satisfy the requirement, we do require that you take an intermediate level course. So if you're currently taking a foreign language in high school, it might be something for you You might want to continue taking that specific language, or you can choose to take a different language. We do offer a placement exam for a language. So if you're currently taking Spanish in high school, you can opt to take our placement exam, and then you could possibly test out of one or two of the sections that you would have to take to fulfill the requirement. And then we would talk about that in depth later on, depending on what you want to do. Or if you want to take a brand new language, you would just start at the 101 level and then work your way up to the intermediate level. And then you want to complete the exploration focus. So the exploration focus is basically you choosing either a themed inquiry, a minor, or a second minor. Or a second major, I mean. So basically at Chapman, you're not just graduating with a major, you also get to graduate with a major and a minor, or you can easily graduate with two majors depending on what your ambitions are and what your goals are in the future. Okay, so typically at Chapman, we have what's called an undeclared advisor or a college-specific academic advisor. So for for students coming in as undeclared, you'll meet with me. I'm the undeclared advisor, where we'll talk about general education questions. We can go over your program evaluation to make sure that you're meeting all your requirements. We talk about any academic policies, questions you may have on that, and the overview of your degree completion and the university requirements for your degree completion. With the college-specific academic advisors, this is once you choose your major, you'll transition into that specific advisor for that major, where you'll discuss the major course requirements. They'll help you stay on track to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements of the major. They'll talk to you about the course availabilities and when you should be taking specific courses, and they'll review any major courses or any substitutions that you can take. If you run into any issues, like if they're not offering a specific course when you need it, and then they'll be able to go over any course substitutions in that way. Okay, so do we have any questions at this time, or do we want to introduce Bella and to come in and share her
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, thanks so much, Miriam. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to share more about that. We do have Isabella here. She's an awesome student who works in our admission office who came in as undeclared. So we'll give her a chance to share a little bit more about her experience, and then we will open the floor for any questions.
Okay, great. So yes, I did go in undecided because I had a lot of different areas of interest. And I originally wanted, like my whole life was like, I'm gonna apply for dance, but then like starting to like work on that application, I realized like, oh, what if I don't know, wanted to be a doctor or something. So there were like a lot of like I don't knows. So I did submit as undecided. And it felt like the best choice for me just because I did have a lot of friends who originally came in with a major and they like would switch or like, oh, I don't really know, but like I'm business, but then they ended up switching anyways. And they like would take a class that like didn't really count for anything because it was for their major and they switched it. So I felt like I made the right choice because I had my entire like first year to just explore and take my general education classes and get those out of the way. So like every class I was taking was counting towards something and I didn't have to like take extra classes that like yeah, I didn't have to like take anything extra. So it was all counting. I didn't feel that I was behind in anything. Um and I didn't know what like my major is communication studies right now, but I didn't know that was a major or what it was about. But for one of the GEs, I forget which inquiry it fulfills, but I took this like intercultural communication class as well as this public speaking class, and um, those two were communication classes, and I looked into that major and it was the two classes were really fun and I I recommend that like for whatever major you are interested in taking, the best way is like to look on the course catalog and like look at all the classes that are offered because those are the things that you're going to be taking for the rest of like your college experience. So I really enjoyed what the School of Communication had to offer. So that's well, I ended up picking that, and I realized I love to talk too, so now I'm a tour guide, and I'm like expanding that skill, building the communication skills in the classroom, but like now in the actual world. So that's been really fun. Um, and yeah, I went through the pathway that I picked. I went through the arts pathway. So I took my FFC like that fell under that was like this how modern art should the world class. And it was very insightful for like art wise what I like was kind of interested in. And that kind of followed through with my minor. Um, so now I'm a dance minor. And the classes that I'm taking now like kind of go back to like what I learned in that first class of like more of like the art conceptual concepts. But yeah, I feel like that's most of my experience on going in undecided and picking what I wanted to do.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing. Um, Wonderful. Okay, well, we'll take some time. If we have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I do have a question that I will read out loud here. And then if there's any more, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We're happy to help answer. So one of the questions that I have is, do undeclared students have to live in a specific dorm? And do they have a limit on the amount of credits they can take each semester? Isabella, I don't know if you want to share about your experience living in the dorms with undeclared.
Yeah, I could start like with the dorms ones. So my whole floor, like everyone was undecided, which was really fun because like my room in particular, two roommates were like also kind of like interested in like art type of things. So that was like cool to like be like, oh, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? But once like throughout the year, people like not everyone, but like people would start declaring majors, and then neighbor across the room across from us was business, and then the other one film and music, and it's really fun to like see where everyone goes. But like now as a junior, still in touch with some of my friends, and um, it's like all different majors, so it's a good chance for you to get to know people. And then once they declare your majors, you have that like diversity and like knowing different people from other majors.
Wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
then on that limit on the amount of credits, Miriam, you could probably speak on that better than me.
Yeah, so to be considered a full-time student, you do have to take a minimum of 12 credits, and that's just for financial aid purposes to because in order to receive the full award amount, you have to be enrolled full-time. We typically recommend that you enroll in at least 15 credits to ensure that you're meeting the 120 requirement by the end of your fourth year.
Another,
I also
yeah,
I
go ahead,
also
go
have
ahead.
a couple of questions here. So one of the questions is American Sign Language an option for the language requirement? The answer is yes. You still have to complete an intermediate level American Sign Language. However, we don't offer that here at Chapman, but you can take it at a community college and transfer it in. And so there's like a second part to that, if how many semesters they would have to take. So since we do require an intermediate level, it's typically 3 semesters. You would start at the 101 level, the 102 level, and then the 201 level.
And then
And
another question I see here too is, can students major and minor across colleges? For example, an English major and a business major. It's a great question. We get that question pretty often. Here at Chapman, we are very interdisciplinary. So if you are someone who is interested in exploring multiple interests that aren't in the same college, know that we absolutely allow students to do that. So whether you're interested in two completely different subjects, two similar subjects, you're able to cross colleges, add majors, add minors, and have a lot of flexibility to do that. So know that that is going to be a great space where you will work with your academic advisor to make sure you're able to balance those units together, figure out kind of what is the best combination for you. But know that is very common for us to see students who are double majoring and really pursuing interdisciplinary forms of education.
There are a couple exceptions to the rule. However, for example, if you wanted to major in business administration, you would not be able to minor in business administration. And I know that there is a couple of those exceptions within the Dodge College of Film and Media Studies. So it's it's not necessarily a huge no, you can't do this, but there are going to be a couple exceptions to that rule. And once you're here and you decide what you want to major and minor in, you can always ask and we can figure out if it is possible.
Another question I see here that is a really good one and something I wanted to touch on as well is we have a question that says, are some majors impacted where it would be hard for an undeclared student to get into or be competitive? I'll kind of touch on that from the admission side. And then Miriam, if you want to kind of add what that looks like from the advising side. One thing we do like to talk with undeclared students about is if they are interested in any of our film program majors or our performance-based majors. So that would include dance and theater. Those programs do have a creative supplement portion in addition to the regular common application. And so, in order to give yourself the best chances of review, it's actually encouraged to apply directly into those programs as a first year freshman rather than applying in undeclared and trying to transfer into those programs later. Because they are really selective, they're highly competitive. Your best chances of review, again, are to apply directly into film and media studies or film and television production, dance. Instead of trying to transfer, we always tell students we want you to be happy with what you're studying, and we would never want you to come onto campus undeclared, hoping to get to transfer into the film program, but finding it really difficult to do so. And so just those programs have that a little bit more of that selectivity to them. So it's just good to know as an undeclared student, if you are considering those pathways, to consider actually applying directly into the film program instead of undeclared.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Those particular colleges can be very stringent on students outside of the major. So if you're not already coming in as that major, it they make it a little more difficult for you to transfer into it. So I'm not saying that it's completely impossible because there are students that do work hard and they meet all the requirements and end up transferring into some of those colleges. But it's a very slim margin of the students that they accept um, that don't come in as that major.
I can like also kind of add. I did try to apply to Dodge from being undecided. I applied for the film and television production with an emphasis in directing, which I think is like the most competitive one. I didn't get it. So it like kind of narrowed down my choices, like what I could choose. Then I also did try applying for a minor in advertising. Also didn't get in for that. Um, and I also applied for the dance minor and first time didn't get into that. But I re-auditioned for the dance minor. I ended up getting it. And like I declared the lead minor. So like there are like other options too. But it is definitely worth applying. I do have a friend that who was also undecided. She applied for the PR and ad program her first year and she did end up getting in. So it's definitely like worth a shot, like to keep your options open and like just try for everything. Um, and yeah, you never know what might happen.
Okay, I have another question that says, does Chapman U offer undeclared freshmen assessments which help identify strengths, skills, interests, and match to majors and careers? Which assessments are offered? So we do, all of that is offered through our Career and Professional Development Center. You can always reach out to them at any time, even as a first year freshman. We do also offer one of the, I think, most important things that we offer Undeclared is our GUS 101 course, which is a 1 credit course that all Undeclared students take, where we review all of the different colleges and all the different majors. And we also go over all of the different resources offered here at Chapman, and we'll have guest speakers from those specific departments like the career department, our research and internship department, our global studies department, to come and speak to the students and go over all of that. But you can definitely reach out to our career center to take these assessments to find those strengths and skills.
Miriam, this is a question for advising. If a student decides later that they want to be a business major or a communication major, do they need to apply, or at what point do they need to declare that?
Those are actually some of the easier majors to apply to. So for business, they have 4 prerequisite courses that you have to take before you can apply into that major if you're not already coming into that major. And you have to maintain a 2.7 GPA within those 4 classes. Once you've achieved that, you would just submit a simple change of program form, and then the department will review those 4 classes, make sure that you're meeting that 2.7 GPA, and then they'll accept you into the program. So that one's fairly easy. For communications, you would just, they have like a supplemental application where you basically write an essay. It's got like a 2 question prompt, and then you fill out the rest of the form, you upload your essay, and then the director of the department will reach out to you. They'll review your essay, they'll chat with you, and then they'll let you know if you were accepted. And then you just submit that change of program form, and that's pretty much it for those 2.
Another question I see here, do most undeclared freshmen usually finish in 4 years?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing that's going to stop you from not finishing in 4 years is if you decide to go into like a STEM major your junior year, because those are some of the larger majors, which are probably it's gonna maybe take you 3 years. But it's something to discuss. If that's something that you really want to do, we'll find a way to get you graduated as quickly as possible. But if you're choosing a major in after your sophomore, at the end of your sophomore year, most of the majors are easily completed in 2 years.
Okay, I see another question here. Are professors open to students reaching out if they want to ask questions about a specific major and learn more about career opportunities in that field? Isabella, I don't know if you would like to speak on that
Yeah.
from the student lens.
Yeah, professors are very willing to speak about like anything, like any questions. I have found that I reached out to a lot of professors. Like I like even in the English department when I thought I wanted to like just explore that pathway too. Um I just emailed one of them who was like teaching one of the like GE classes, like, hey, so like what's it like to like I don't know, have your job and like that like whole pathway, and they emailed back, they met with me one-on-one, even met with the one of the professors in the environmental science area of study, and he told me like a little bit about like his career experience and like how he found his major and like career opportunities that led him like to where he is now. But yeah, all the professors are really helpful, like giving you the resources that you need.
Wonderful. Any other questions? We could take a few last ones here if anyone has any other curiosities. Okay. Well, if you ever have a question, think of something later, you can always feel free to reach out to us, especially here at over in admissions. Each one of you is assigned a specific um, admission counselor based on your high school. And so we will be your go-to people for any kinds of questions you may have in regards to your admissions process, anything throughout the journey. So do not hesitate to reach out if you ever have any curiosities. But we're super happy that you decided to join us this evening, learn a little bit more about the undeclared experience. Hopefully we get to see your application sometime soon. And if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone.
I think there was like one little question about
Oh,
semester abroad
Oh,
programs.
love that. There's one last question here. So yeah, so if you want to, have you studied abroad?
I have not studied abroad, but I can talk about them now.
Wonderful. Well, no worries. We do have study abroad programs here at Chapman. We actually have a study abroad virtual session coming up on Friday. So if you want to learn more about what it's like to study abroad at Chapman, many students do. We have over 100 different locations. That is a great session to attend. It'll also be posted on our website under virtual events. So definitely check that out. But know if you are someone who is really excited about exploring your major, your minor, your general education courses abroad, participating in internship abroad, that'll be a great place to look. But we have a session coming up on Friday, so I encourage you to check that out. Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Oh, there's another question.
oh.
It says, I think I read somewhere you hosted a majors in minutes program. Could you tell me about what it's like? I went
So go ahead.
I ended up going to that my freshman year, and it was just like different tables with like each different major that was there. And it was with students. And I just like would walk up to them, they'd tell me about the major and then they'd like answer any questions that I have about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, it's not necessarily a program, it's an event that was put on that is now discontinued, unfortunately. But the reason that it's discontinued is because we do talk about all the different majors in our GUST 101 course, which all the students are taking anyway. And so, yeah, it was basically like a speed dating event where we would get different students from different majors to come in and talk about the majors with interested students.
Thank you. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for attending. Again, please feel free to reach out if you need anything. And have a great evening.